Hello and welcome to the YouTube channel for Craftworld I'm Brent, and this is the annual Farseer's report, in which I give a brief overview of plans for the channel in the upcoming year. Before I do, let me just say that if you have content that you would particularly like to see from me, let me know in the comments below. Viewer feedback has a substantial impact on what I decide to prioritize. Okay. I think it's fair to start by acknowledging that 2024 is unlikely to be anywhere near as eventful a year for Space Elf rules updates as was 2023. Last year we got a new version of 40k to navigate, along with totally new rules and data sheets for all of our units, followed by some substantial nerfs and changes to the game in the months after the initial release. Most of the content that I created during the late spring and the summer and the early autumn was pretty exclusively focused just on keeping up with the shifting landscape of the hobby. As far as we know, Eldari are not going to get a new codex in 2024, and while it's still possible that we could see something like a supplement for Harlequins in the autumn, or maybe alternative combat patrol rules in an issue of White Dwarf, as just happened for Space Marines, I think it's a pretty safe bet that aside from a couple of standard seasonal data slate updates, there won't be anywhere near as much to cover as there was last year. Maybe just not a whole lot at all in the way of new rules. So here's why I'm actually excited about this. Not having to review a bunch of rules updates means more time to create content focused on tactics and content exploring the other aspects of the hobby, which are actually the videos that I enjoy making the most. My own favorite video from 2023 was the deep dive on the influences that shaped the whole of the 40k franchise, which I just managed to slip in before the index dropped, and I had to shift gears to all new rules all the time. I will link that video that I love in the comments for anyone who may have missed it. In general, though, it's that quirkier content that gets nudged aside when there's a big update to the game or to our faction, and that has to take priority because that's the channel's primary identity. But with nothing like that on the horizon, no big rules updates on the horizon, I'll have a lot more freedom to determine what content I want to prioritize, and also to listen to you when you tell me what you'd like to see. But here's what I have in mind for 2024. Aside from a bunch of new unit focus videos, I will always do unit focus videos, and aside from coverage of any data slate updates, of course I will cover those things, I have some other thoughts. So first off, I'd like to do some videos about making different thematic Eldari armies work effectively on the table, which to some degree will also be about Craftworld specific play styles. So I actually already recorded the first of these. You may remember the video about playing aspect heavy / Beltani lists that I made in the fall. I'd like to add similar content about Wraith-oriented /Eandon builds, and perhaps about running jet bike lists as like a love letter to Samhan. Ulthway might sneak in there too, because someone asked for it specifically in a video content at some point in the not too distant past. But I have found that people tend to like those thematic list building videos, and I really enjoy making them. I think it's a good time for that. I'm also definitely way overdue for a video about running Ynnari. I hope to get to this in the first quarter of 2024, especially if I can find the right guest with an impressive grand tournament record running Death Elves. Although the Yinkarn is a regular include in my rosters, I've personally only run true Ynnari with Harlequins and Drakari in there, and Yvrain is the world, like a true Ynnari list, a few times in competitive play since 10th dropped. I've messed around with it in narrative games and stuff, but I've only got a few competitive games where Yvrain is my warlord and I'm really doing the Ynnari thing. So I would love to collaborate with a top tier servant of Yvrain for that one if possible. Otherwise, I'll just pony up and figure it out and get a bunch more reps in. I also plan to do a video about the quixotic insanity of running 10th edition mono Harlequins without consigning the whole clown posse to inevitable defeat. But I am still working on the practicalities of running that one into a variety of opponents. When I have enough successful reps that don't involve mono clowns getting spanked by tournament armies wearing their big boy pants, I will record something. Or when I just get as far with it as I think that I can, I'll make a video about what I've worked out, what I think works best. I have a few other tactics videos in mind. But some of those plans may change after the next data slate alters the meta or new codexes introduce new obstacles and challenges that Eldari players need to consider when building lists. So I do have some other stuff in mind, but those are the biggies I can tell you about now. Whatever happens, you can definitely count on a variety of videos about thematic play with an eye towards winning games and playing effectively, in addition to more unit-focused videos and also covering any updates to the rules and the meta that may alter the Space Elf experience. As for non-tactical content, I have several ambitions for 2024. The first of these is to experiment with recording some lore videos. For a while, I've resisted dipping my toes in this particular pond simply because there is quite a lot of excellent lore content on YouTube already. I linked one in a playlist. I think I've mentioned many times that I love Luton. But the more I've thought about it, the more I think there might actually be room for some beginner-oriented coverage of particular aspects of Eldari history, mythology, and daily life. So I might experiment with creating an approachable tutorial about some aspect of one of these topics, and if it gets at least as many views as the average unit-focused video, then I'll create some more. If you have other ideas about topics you would be interested in hearing me cover, non-tactics topics, please leave those in the comments below. One I'm definitely going to do is a video delving into the origins of the current incarnation of Eldar from their beginnings in the early days of Rogue Trader, followed by their apotheosis into the Craftworlders we know and love in White Dwarf 127. For you gradually crystallizing oldie McOldersons who still remember a time without the internet, this will be a nostalgic romp. While those of you who are still using pacifiers when I was playing 3rd edition 40k might learn a thing or two about the before times when people were worried about Y2K and 40k miniatures still came in blister packs. Now, the last time I recorded a Farseer's report, several of you asked for additional pieces of short fiction, which I hugely appreciated, by the way. Path of the Weaver is probably my favorite thing that I have ever created for this channel. I'm going to link it in the video description because I can't help myself. Despite the fact that it didn't get the views I was hoping for, I know from the analytics that most of you who started listening to the story, if you got 2 minutes in, you stayed with it until the end, and the comments were super encouraging. But I have also learned that in general, people are way less likely to click on a piece of unpublished fan fiction than a tactics video, which I completely understand. My hang-up is that a finished story, as long as Path of the Weaver, takes me around 50 hours, including editing, rewriting, and recording. And ultimately, if it's 40k fiction, I end up with something that is unpublishable. Because I do occasionally actually get paid for my writing, it's harder for me to get motivated to polish a 40k story that's likely to get less attention on my channel than a much easier to create unit-focused video, rather than work on something that I might be able to actually sell that doesn't have anything to do with 40k. So that said, I do have some other 40k pieces in the works. I am hoping to record another one for the channel this year. I freaking love doing that. But there are these other concerns. If you really want to see more fiction, you could always help get the word out about Path of the Weaver, which, as I said before, I will link. Okay. The other request that I get pretty regularly is for battle reports. Like, I almost can't make a video without someone asking for battle reports. The reason that I haven't done one of these yet is that YouTube is brimming with high production value battle reports from content creators with awesome studios and also tech skills that are beyond my ken. I am not convinced that working in a few witticisms about horse dentists and some punchy descriptions of Wraithguard beating orcs to death with their own shoes would be enough to prevent any of the battle reports that I produce from looking kind of amateurish by comparison. So the only way that I'm doing a battle report in 2024 is if some other established content creator in the Northeastern US who already has a pretty awesome studio wants to collaborate / just invite me over to play Warhammer while we goof off, and then they do the production and editing. And if that happens, I'm all in. Otherwise, I'm just really not set up for professional looking battle reports. So that's currently what I have in mind for 2024. If you are particularly interested in any of the content that I mentioned, please let me know in the comments below. Alternatively, if you have other ideas for what you would like to see on the channel, I would love to hear your ideas. Before I wrap up, I'd like to say a big thank you to my patrons who not only provide financial support for the channel, but also comprise my favorite 40K Discord community. They delight each other, and also I am delighted by them. I also want to thank my sponsor, the Magnet Baron, who continues to be awesome and to produce a product that I was using myself long before he approached me about underwriting the channel. So thanks, Constantine. You're awesome. And lastly, a big thank you and a shout out to Fernando Cantu. I hope I'm pronouncing your last name right, Fernando. He provided the images for this video. His Ibersil Space Elves look like my Ibersil Space Elves, only way nicer. And you can find his Instagram handle in the video description. I follow a bunch of probably the people listening to this on Instagram, and there's a lot of really amazing stuff that all of you are doing. Fernando's stuff is extraordinary. I've been a big fan for a long time. Okay, so that's what I've got. Best wishes for all your Eldari adventures in 2024. Until next time, take care.